Ah, there it goes. Okay. You know, what's the proper way we should say this? He tried it in reference, obviously, to those waning moments of the game. I think that's the only way that we could describe it accurately. But we're gonna work our way through this, and yeah, yeah. Uh, Jackson, you're a lot nicer to the man than I am. Uh, I was gonna say he definitely did. Yeah. The main frustration with this game, for me at least, I don't know about you guys. It was a good game. It was a good game, right? Should have called a timeout on the inbound. I I I think so. Shouldn't have had it last. I didn't like that close. I wish. See, I need the NBA to like get their stuff together. I need critical moments like that like immediately online, and they're not because I need to be able to just like play that back instantly. 99% sure I won Kessler's giveaway. Hey, we'll take it. Going Kessler, Walker Kessler going from what 7 field goal attempts last game to just one in 30 minutes of this one was a surprise. Well, I guess technically two since he did get his free throws. But overall, it was just like you guessed 0 blocks. Well, yeah, you definitely got that one. This was definitely we're gonna sweep this under the rug. This was not Walker Kessler's best game by a wide margin. Um, I had Larry Markkinen under 9.5 threes. He took 13. I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming at all. Because in my head, I was like, I'm so used to us, I'm so used to us tanking, being prepared to tank, not putting out lineups that are supposed to be supremely competent for extended periods of time. So I was like, at most, right? Let's say Lowry takes 19 shots, right? I didn't have 23 in my brain. I was like, if he takes like 19, 18, 19 shots, 8 of them might be threes, maybe 9, but double figure threes against the Kings, game 2 of the season? Nah, that's not on my bingo card. I was wrong. I was wrong. If How do I put this in the words? Like we all know that we're tanking this year, right? But it's like something about watching a good game that makes you think, man, we might not be the greatest team out there, but this is kind of fun. We're competitive, we're compy. And then we get that play design. We get Keontae being the Keontae we know and love. And it just does what it does. Oh, we almost won. Now we're 1-1. I think after last game we were ranked what, fourth overall. Let me see here. Window. Yeah, there we go. We were fourth overall. We're never going to be that high again this season. 1-6, 5-15 for the game from Keontae. The last play. I don't care if Bryce is in that corner. Keontae shouldn't have had that ball. Bingo. What's up, Chris? I thought Kessler got that rebound at the end to get 2 free throws. Well, it was a competitive game all the way down to the wire. Rough play design. Keontae George did old Keontae George things, and we lost in a tight one. Definitely a winnable game. Definitely a nice game. Like if you cut out that last play, like those last couple seconds of the game, it was a really nice game. All things considered, since we understand that we're supposed to be tanking. Larry Markkinen 23 field goal attempts was not on my bingo card. Granted, he shot 52%, so 4 of 13 isn't great. But he's 5-6 from the free throw line, 33 overall, 4 boards, 1 assist. only one turnover, positive box score plus minus. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. Interestingly enough, Kyle Filipowski in just 25 minutes of action. He had a more noteworthy game today. Last game, his first game of the season wasn't bad, but this is a quiet W in his book for me. 4-7 from the field, 2 of 4 from three. Only 7 field goal attempts, but you still came away with double digit points, right? That's always going to be great. 6 boards, 4 assists, still keeping up with last game. Obviously, Walker Kessler and Lowry didn't, but 4 assists. We could definitely be gracious for that. Only 1 turnover. Again, he did have 5 personal fouls though. I didn't realize you could bet on personal fouls. Apparently, that's a thing now. I might have to start taking them up on that. Um, but yeah, that 19 point swing, box score plus minus in just 25 minutes of action, is something to pay attention to. But yeah, had a spinning fadeaway, spinning fadeaway with the defender on his belt instead of just going straight up, waiting the foul. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. It's a long way to go, but still Lowry's gonna. Yeah, basically. Flip was solid. Was good, Blizzard. Yeah. Flip had a really solid one for me. This Walker Kessler one, I'm gonna have to rewatch how he was moving when he was on the floor because this is not the Walker Kessler we saw the previous game. Now, the type of players and the schemes that were run playing in this one obviously are different. But this is a little bit underwhelming. He did end up with 9 boards at the end of the game. But yeah, he played, but he's still not like there. Only 13 and a half minutes action. He was 0 of 5 from the field. He had the worst actually box score plus minus I peeped. No turnovers, but just 2 boards and assists, a foul. Yeah, just things weren't really going his way when he was on the floor. We'll put it that way. I'm assuming he's still recovering in essence because this is not what we should be anticipating from him at any point in time. Like even, yeah, no, I don't think this is going to be consistent. I'm waiting until there's like no issues with him health wise for me to say, yeah, he's gonna be fine. This is the Ace Bailey that we should be seeing. But I don't think by any stretch of the imagination, this is Ace Bailey. This is just lowercase a, lowercase b, Ace Bailey, right? We speak about this game in whispers. We don't talk about that long term. Only mad about the final 2 possessions. Kessler not getting the defense rebound, Lowry not getting a touch in the final offensive possession, but overall competitive performance tonight. Couldn't have said it any better. Sabonis always had Kessler's number. That is also true. That is also very true. I can't even be mad at that. While I was watching the World Series tonight, I only got caught at the end of this one. Glad to see we didn't screw up the tank tonight. That Kessler's nut still hurt from that last game. Ask Bailey tonight is crazy. We have at least 3 years till we know what Ace will be. He's definitely, and honestly, I still think he's recovering. Watching him play, he didn't look like even preseason Ace Bailey, right? So to me, until I see the health is there, when I see him running up and down the court, doing all the things and being excited and amped up like he always was beforehand, and then he puts up a stinker like this, then it's like, okay, let's kind of rein in our expectations for what he could be or what he should be at this point, early on in his career in his rookie season. But until we have those type of games, I don't put too much stock into this. Plus, it's only 13 minutes of action, right? If he's fully healthy, he's not playing 13 minutes. You can't convince me of that. There's no way Svi, there's an 11-minute swing between him and Svi. I don't see that. Could you say, okay, he doesn't play more than 22, 24 minutes on any night, even when he's fully healthy, like fully ready to go? Okay, cool. But I'm not buying the concern right now. And of course, there's going to be some think pieces. There's already been people talking about what's his name, Cooper Flagg, and how he hasn't looked very great. But the blatant fact of the matter is Cooper Flagg is being put in a position that he should not be put in. And I'd assume that Jason Kidd, of all coaches, knows what somebody who should be playing the point guard position looks like, and it's not Cooper Flagg. Much less should he be on ball as much as they force him to be on ball. but they're gonna say it's for development. It's they're gonna make a million excuses. Um, but the point is Cooper Flag is starting out slower than anticipated because of the position they're putting him in, and I just don't think Ace is like fully there health wise just yet. But they'll both pan out just fine. I'm convinced to say. Remember Ben Simmons won Rookie of the Year? Yeah, I remember when Ben Simmons was tough. Those were the days when we thought Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were gonna run the league, and now look at both of them. The process failed. It's over. But they have the generator, so it's different now. Yeah, for the most part, like I'm gonna rag on Key today because it's necessary for me to do so, but I'm not mad with him thus far. Like last game especially put him in didn't put a sour, you know, taste in my mouth regarding him. So I'm inclined to believe that, there's still room to work with. And again, 7 for 7 from the free throw line means you can shoot. That 1 of 6 from three, you know, leaves much to be desired. 5 of 15 overall, um, leaves much to be desired. But I don't think just yet we're seeing all that because even still, two rebounds, 10 assists, 4 turnovers, kind of high. But again, he played 34 minutes, right? And that still beats out a 2 to 1 assist to turnover ratio. So in my book, this is still a good passing game for him, you know. Um, and then putting together 18 points, managed a box score plus minus. So unless you want to sit here and attribute and say, oh yeah, the other 4 guys carried him on defense, which I would disagree with, he was effective when he was on the floor, despite it not being a very good performance, right? We could say it wasn't a very good one, but we can't say it's like terrible. I'll say that. But we'll find out soon enough. He said, just want to see Keontae string together some efficient games, like three or five in a row. Yeah, yeah. The thing is with my thought process on Keontae is like, in theory, he looks really good. On paper, he looks really good. Watching him move on the court, he looks really good. He looks like a guard that should be scoring. He might give you 20 every night, right? The confidence that he shoots with tells me he should be. But for some reason, it just doesn't click. And watching it happen like year after year, now we're in year 3, right? This is that turning point year, especially considering the position that the team's in. If we were more veteran based and he was just like that young guy who was kind of like the odd man out, it's like you're gonna need him at some point. So you're inclined to give him you're gonna extend him regardless. But the context is what kind of changes things for me because it's like he can be whoever he wants to be. He effectively controls his destiny. And the injury to Isaiah Collier obviously allows for him to be really whoever he can imagine himself as. So when he has games like this, it doesn't really help his situation because you could make the argument, right? Isaiah Collier, despite his not stellar, but pretty solid close to last season, because he really couldn't shoot worth a lick. But as a floor general, he was effective, right? No arguing that. The numbers back it up. With him starting out the season injured, this is Keontae George's time to say either A, I belong on this team long term, or B, I belong on this team and I am a critical part to this team's success, right? And yes, we're supposed to be tanking, so it's going to be hard sometimes to prove that. But again, we're only 2 games in. The first game wasn't bad. This one was kind of bad. But the first game wasn't bad, right? I give him in 10, 15 games, you know what I'm saying, to really showcase entirely that he's gotten better, right? One thing I will definitely say is turnover wise, the turnovers that he did have didn't scare me at all. Last season, and obviously, especially his rookie year, the turnovers were concerning. Not concerning to the Isaiah Collier like, but concerning nevertheless. He seems to be more in control. He seems to be making better decisions overall. And that's why I hesitate to sit there and say, and I'm still going to stamp the belief. I'm going to stand on the belief that he will showcase 40+% shooting from the field. And honestly, by midseason, I would be surprised. I would be surprised if he was south of 44% shooting from the field. I'm not going to sit here and put out like a stamp for his 3-point percentage because considering the sheer number of attempts that we've always seen him take, and it seems like it's always been encouraged for him to take north of 4 a game, we're never going to see a Keontae George that shoots 3 threes a game, right? It's always going to be 5 to 8 roughly. Because of that large number, there's going to be some games where he shoots really nice and some games that he shoots just really bad. And while we've seen a lot more of the really rough games, I don't think that that's always going to be it's not going to be a permanent standing for him. But we can't ignore the numbers from the past. So it's like we want to give him as much bail as we can right now and believe that he will make the most of this opportunity. Now, if Isaiah Collier came back next game, I think they still start Keontae George. I think Isaiah Collier has to take the starting role back with his play from the bench at this point because they're not entirely very different from each other. And I think the passing chops that Keontae George has showcased lately has really shed a lot of light on that. And then the fact that, matter of fact, last game, how many free throws did he have? Let's see real quick. I don't really care about that. Thank you, though. We don't like ads. What did I even come here looking? Golly, I didn't want to see that part. Okay, he had 4 last game, so if he goes to the free throw line twice a night, 3 times a night, regardless, he's a significantly better free throw shooter. So yeah, as it stands, despite this and despite this still being a thing, this is saving him. That and the positive box score plus minus because everybody in the league now is very how do we call it? Advanced analytic loving these days in the league. But I'm convinced that he's going to iron things out, and I hope he does. Bryce Sensabaugh, in better news, did his thing in just 22 minutes of action, 6 of 11 shooting from the field. That's 55%. 3-7 from 3-point range, still keeping that up. 4 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, only 2 turnovers, which is going to be much appreciated, especially when he shoots double-digit field goal attempts. I think he's found his groove, especially off the bench. Maybe in spot situations, we could see him start at some point during the season, but I think for the most part, this is like his niche window. And as a matter of fact, he played the most minutes off the bench. So I guess I could be wrong, but maybe he's already in that 6-man window. You could make the argument when Ace eventually overtakes into the starting role. Nah, Svi wouldn't take 6-man minutes though. I think Bryce might be the consensus 6-man. Maybe when what's his name? When Isaiah Collier comes back, they shake up the bench just a little bit. But I think he's kind of locked himself into that role, and that comfortability has allowed him to really thrive. Even though his box score plus minus is not good at all, obviously that -9. You can't argue with this level of shooting. And defensively, I didn't hate what I saw from him. At all. Like even if we were comparing this right now compared to what we saw from him last season, right? Even early on last season, mid-season last season, he's obviously a better defender. He talks more on defense. Now, obviously, I would love to have a game where I would love to have a feature where we could have them mic'd up and we could actually hear what's being called out because sometimes maybe guys are just shouting just to shout. But I feel like a lot of the communication between this unit overall has just been really positive. And I mean, what was this? This was low scoring and low scoring for today's game. Yeah, holding the Kings to 105. Granted, Zach LaVine was efficient. Of course, he's Zach LaVine, even though people try to downplay his game. I forgot about Dennis Schroeder a little bit. Yeah, that 8 of 16 did hurt a little bit. I for some reason I thought he was more inefficient because I remembered him bricking his threes. But yeah, DeMar DeRozan didn't really get off. He only had 9 field goal attempts though, which was curious in 36 minutes of action. Sabonis was mellow with his 12 and 12, It might feel like a quiet 12, but I know Walker Kessler is going to be feeling it tomorrow morning. And for everybody else, Malik Monk, I guess, off the bench for all intents and purposes, was the one that always usually gives us the most problems. I'll say that. 7 and 14 at 6 and 9 from three was killer. 20 points off the bench, second leading scorer for their team overall. Yeah, 44% from three. I did not realize that. That's a big disparity for us, considering we got up 9 more threes and hit one less. Mhm. Yeah, we won from the free throw line, but that's not gonna help when we shoot like that from three. Overall, we only had 3 more field goal attempts than them, though. 48% for them, 44 for us. Yeah, I don't hate this. I don't hate this. Westbrook only got 17 and a half minutes. Yeah, we gotta. Well, it's gonna be a long season. My fault. Uh, 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 uh. Let's see. I'm conflicted. What is worrying is that this is the classic key roller coaster. Let's keep hope dips aren't that low. Yeah, I'm inclined to believe that the low marks this season won't be nearly what they were in seasons past. Guess you have to throw Harkless or Trace. Shoots less than 3 to 4 threes, he becomes a liability. Mm, the thing with Keontae though is like inside the arc, he's never been bad, percentage wise. Now, I wouldn't sit there and say he's been stellar, but for the most part, his percentages would indicate that he's at worst slightly below league average. However, him shooting half of his field goal attempts coming from three in games last season when he was, I think he averaged like 14, it was like 13.7 field goal attempts or 14.1, somewhere in that window. And then he was shooting 6 or 7 threes a night. So if he had a really good three-point shooting night, then his percentage was probably really good. But more often than not, the percentage was low because he would put himself in position to hit 1 or 2 threes. And 2 for 7 is never going to save your stat line, especially when you don't take comfortable shots inside the arc. I don't get why we went to Key when Lowry popped out. Will Hardy must have said. I think the front office said that. We could start Collier and Key, but the issue would be defensively, there wouldn't be a lot of length. And despite Sweet didn't have a bad game today, actually. 3 of 7, 2 of 5 from three. Sometimes it just feels like he's like out there. But I mean, he's never terrible. And if we put Keontae and Isaiah Collier out there at the same time and they both shoot bad, granted, it would be great for the tank, but overall, it wouldn't look good in practice watching the game, so to speak. Because well, Isaiah Collier's he has to drive, and if he kicks out to to Keontae George, there's no guarantee that they, close out hard because he doesn't have a large sample size of hitting those threes. But I it would not surprise me if we saw a sample size of like 10 minutes during a game where they're both on the floor either sharing the point guard duties or maybe Isaiah Collier runs point, Key slides down to the 2 and they run it that way. And maybe Key at this stage would end up benefiting from that a little bit. But at the same time, one of them has to either be significantly improved defensively or one of them has to be significantly improved from a shooting standpoint. And we just haven't gotten enough of that data just yet. Let's see. I also think Key needs the ball to get in rhythm, which can hurt him at times. Not as good off ball, and both are primarily ball handlers. That's very true as well, Logic. Dennis Schroeder has historically killed the Jazz all the way back to his Hall's days. So I don't know. He's frog. I mean, Dennis Schroeder, no matter what, he's always going to be a dog. Even as a journeyman, he's a dog. So I gotta give him his props here and there, even when it comes at my expense, unfortunately. Suns are getting fried by the dang. Yeah, the Clippers somebody else had a really tough win today. Let me see. That was a lot closer than I thought it should have been. The Pistons beat the Rockets, really? Yeah, the Heat clapping the Grizzlies while they have Ja Morant and amid the Terry Rozier controversy is kind of crazy. 32-point L is wild. Yeah, this one was the one that surprised me the most. Trailblazers 20-piece in the Warriors. That's just nasty work. I didn't see that happening. The Wizards winning against the Mavs by 10, while not impossible, wasn't extremely likely to me. But yeah, the Warriors getting clapped by the Trailblazers like this was actually the craziest one to me. Look at it this way: we went from a saloon shootout to a defensive slobber knocker that almost came away with 2 wins. Yeah, true. Definitely progress. Tough loss. Can only listen to the radio tonight. A lot kept saying the defense was good. How true versus the Kings being bad. The defense was definitely good. All things considered, they attempted 3 less shot attempts than us. Turnover wise, we had 19, so that wasn't great for us. They had 13, which was obviously a much cleaner game for them. And even though they did shoot 43% from the 3-point line and 48% overall, we were effective in what we did, and that honestly kept the game. Like anytime you see somebody, if I just told you, like I didn't tell you a game score, I said we played the Kings and they shot 44% from 3 on us. They shot 48% for the game. You might think they put up 130, but they didn't. And a lot of that also comes down to pace. There was a lot of turnovers, but there's also a lot of dead ball turnovers, and dead ball turnovers like vastly outpace live turnovers because those turn into quick points, right? And we don't want those at all. But nah, the defense was definitely solid compared to what you might randomize. If we were to randomly pick a game from last season at any point and like watch the tape back, this was definitely a better defensive performance than like 80% of those games. I mean, the score itself, I really think tells half the story for the most part. Yeah. Oh, of course, guys are always going to get caught on screens. Part of that's just that a lot of our guys being young. Fatigue also plays into that sometimes. Some guys you'll see every now and then somebody gets caught on a screen that is properly communicated, and like you watching the game, they shouldn't be, you know, getting caught on that screen, but they kind of let it happen, and that's when okay, so and so is kind of tired right now because he's letting the screen take him out of the action. Unless we prefer the matchup that comes from the screen being set, usually it's because somebody's tired. More often than not. Yeah, last year was blowout after blowout. No Commander Cody tonight. Yeah, when I saw, because I was telling them earlier, I pegged Lowry at under 9.5 threes tonight. So him taking in my head, he took 18, maybe 19 field goal attempts total. I didn't see him playing 36 minutes. In my head, I had 34. So when he plays 2 more minutes, attempts 4 or 5 more field goal attempts, and basically all of them were threes. To me, that says, we really wanted to make this a dogfight. We really wanted to make this a competitive one. I honestly, like, late third quarter, I kind of forgot that we were supposed to be tanking this year. I was like, dang, yeah, we're 1-0. This is a good game right here. And then, what happened down at the end of the game happened at the end of the game. And it's like, oh yeah, nah, back to reality, snap back. But it wasn't bad. Yeah. Now, granted, Svi is not like a crazy athlete, right? But compared to Isaiah Collier, who might be 6'1", yeah, at 6'7", even if we say, dude, I don't think they'll tell us what is. Yeah, they don't have his wingspan on here, do they? And he's overseas, so there's probably not going to be any combine things. Yeah, no. All right, so even if we took like the average human thing, that means his wingspan has to be at least 6'9", probably. I'm not gonna. I would love if it would. Is I would love to say it's 7 foot, but I don't know that for certain. So I'm not going to sit here and just mouth off and say that. But it's definitely longer than Isaiah Collier's. Um, and sometimes just that length will do it to him, as the saying is. Yeah. It's hard because it's like he doesn't play a super physical game. So though he's 6'7", it may not occur to anybody unless he's either facing against somebody in ISOs and actually puts the ball on the deck, or if he just decides to get physical. But usually, because he's so off ball 90% of the time, it's just not going to be something that's super prominent. Just kind of seemed like in the way. I don't see how this team's supposed to get minutes for Key and Sensible and Bailey, all the shooting guard, while Svi's here. I was kind of surprised that he started. Like I said, I was surprised when he started the season as a starting two guard. When we found out that Ace was getting over being sick, it made more sense to me. But still, I was like, dang, last season we started Jordan Clarkson when we should not have started Jordan Clarkson. I mean, we tried that experiment 2 years back to back, and it was like he clearly doesn't do great. He doesn't put up great numbers in starting roles. So why are we doing this? He's been a six man. That's where he's had his most success. Let's leave it there. And even in his decline, it's like, leave him there, please. Um, but like in my head, if Ace is sick, I kind of like Bryce more. I like Bryce more than Svi. And Bryce has been incredibly effective overall shooting. You know, summer league, preseason, even now, he's shooting better. Um, maybe it's the whole mantra of you got to earn your minutes. You got to really dig in and get after it. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know. I do definitely think that when Isaiah Collier is healthy again, and Ace Bailey's back at 100%, we'll see a shakeup of the guards just in general, both not just who's starting, but also the minute spread that we get from everybody. But right now, I'm a side note. I'm loving the Walter Clayton minutes. You know, he's not doing anything crazy. He's not phenomenal, right? But 4 of 7 today, only 1 of 3 from three. So he stopped himself before it got too crazy. Hit the one free throw that he had, 5 boards, only 3 assists, but a calm 3 assists. He had a steal, 2 turnovers, 10 points. Negative box score plus minus, but overall, this is a solid game. We can work with this. If I'm coach and I see his stat sheet and I see the way that he played the game, I say, you know, this isn't the ceiling for you by far, but it's definitely far from the floor, and I'm happy to see that. And then you have Yusuf Nurkic in his 18 minutes somehow managing 7 shot attempts, while Walker Kessler in 30 minutes had 1. Yeah. He also had 11 boards, 2 assists, a steal, only 1 turnover. So he was, some people might argue he might have been a better matchup against Sabonis in extended minutes. But overall, whether it be himself or the entire rotation that he was rolled out with, the box score plus minus of -8 tells us that it probably wasn't the winning formula. But yeah, last year was definitely a full-blown tank. 6 players drafted top 16. Denver has 2. Granted, they landed arguably the best player in the league. Why do we have to tank again? Supposedly. So the thought process is either Boozer twin or either Cameron Boozer or AJ DePonsa. You know, there's some other names to throw in there, but that combined with the fact I think this is the last year where if we aren't a top 7 draft pick, then the Thunder get our pick. I think this is the last year that whole debacle happens. So that's the other aspect to it. So it's like if we're not bad enough, and our luck is also bad enough, we can end up with a pick that in the lottery converts as 10th, and then we just lose it to the guys that already, the rich get richer kind of thing. And we don't want that to happen. But that's just in theory. In theory, yeah, I kind of like these losses. They teach the youngs that you have to be focused, engaged all 48 minutes. Yeah, for sure. And honestly, it's just fun. Like even as a fan, like watching them play down to the wire. Even when things don't go well, we can sit there and be like, "Oh man, that one play was terrible." the game as a whole was pretty solid. So I mean, I like that split a lot, for sure, for sure. Could it be seeing real minutes if it was a full blown tank? Yeah, yeah. When the time comes, we'll know because Cody will be in a closing lineup. Yeah, soft tank while showing improvement in competition. Bingo. Maybe Hardy was worried that if Key and Bryce were together, the other players might not get touches. But with two encouraging passing games from Key, it might be time to move Bryce. That's a fair thought to have. Bryce is also definitely more likely to put the ball on the deck than Svi is. And maybe being in that second unit just gives him more of the freedom to do what he wants to do. Cause like even if we segregated and we just ignored our starting five, we won. Yeah. Did we only go 10? Yeah, we only went 10 deep today. All right, let's say we just straight up switched out our starting five for the bench five, right? No commingling of minutes. Out of these guys, Ace Bailey not being at 100%, in theory, Bryce takes more shots than Taylor Hendricks. We'll talk about Taylor Hendricks in a minute because he was just kind of like this just wasn't a game for him. He should take more minutes than Yusuf Nurkic for sure. And then you have Walter Clayton Jr., who isn't as much of a two guard or a combo guard as Keontae George is, though he can definitely score. Don't get it twisted. He also has more of a natural fit for a lead guard spot than as a two guard. So you can make the argument Bryce Sensabaugh out of these guys, and the not completely locked in and healthy version of Ace Bailey, he should get the lion share of the shots. And for all intents and purposes, he kind of did today. I mean, he shot more threes than everybody else from the bench combined. 4 field goal attempts in between him and the next largest person. So yeah. But yeah, definitely a nice one. Definitely a nice one. So Walt reminds me of a little Brazilian backup point guard. Mm. Mm. Okay. Okay. I can see that. I do kind of see that. I see where we're going with this. I'm not mad at that. I like that a little bit. Problem is the bench becomes a bit slim until Ace finally breaks out. Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that would kind of piss me off if I was watching this game is if I saw slow-mo minutes. Like that would actually like throw me for a loop. Like that would be like the most bizarre thing. Like you see slow-mo play and then Taylor Hicks plays like 8 minutes. I'm like, yo, what did Taylor do in practice? Like, what did he do to lose his minutes, dude? It's bad enough he's only getting 16 right now, but like, come on. Come on. Give him 20, please. Pretty please with a cherry on top. Just a little bit, you know? Oh, what's good, Monty? I would say we're living the dream, but we're not. But basketball wise, we had something to watch. We had something to enjoy for the most part. If you have to trade for another guard, if we choose to move on from someone, let's swap 1-for-1 with Brooklyn. I wouldn't be mad at that. Brooklyn is in such a very weird spot. I'm gonna touch this game just a little bit. I just want to look at those numbers. But yeah, they're in a weird spot. Yeah. The thing is like just the weirdest culmination. Like, hold on. Terrence Mann, Michael Porter Jr., and Nick Claxton. Okay. Cam Thomas and Ben Suroff. Who? He only played 18 minutes, mind you. Zaire Williams, 28 minutes. Igor Demon, 24 minutes. Dayron Sharp, 14 minutes. I wanted Igor Demon. Like if he was the one person that they had who, when I was listening to the draft call through, he was the only guy they drafted who I knew. Like off the top of my head, I had seen tape and I could put something to it. This is the only guy. And whoa, he could shoot now. He couldn't shoot before. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I can work with that. And he's like 6'6" or 6'7", too. Oh, he looks like the kind of guy you let date your daughter. He's such a chill guy. Oh, he's 6'8". Okay. He could put on a little bit of weight, That's not crazy though. Yeah, it's not crazy at all. He's the only guy they drafted that I have a lot of faith in, you know. Mm. Tyson Etienne, EJ Liddell, Nolan Traore, Jalen Wilson. Aside from Nolan Traore, the rest of these three names, if you close your eyes and I said these three names over a loudspeaker, you think they were football players. Noah Clowney. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna be nice. Crazy how they stuck in this one. Jalen Tyson, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Samuel Donovan Mitchell. Lonzo had another bad. This wasn't terrible actually. 8 assists, 2 steals, 2 turnovers. He just didn't shoot well. Okay. All right, Lonzo. All right, I see you in the weeds. I see you cooking. I see you cooking, twin. Go ahead. Such a weird collection of guys. Just a roster of dudes. Just a roster of dudes. But yeah. Yeah. I'm inclined to believe with you. I'm inclined to agree with you. Um I worry about Demon's motor defensively. The guy looks like he could get bullied off the court, and that was definitely a big thing because on paper, as a prospect, he looked really good. And if you just saw his highlights and his tape on offense, you would think he's really good until defense comes into the equation. Because in theory, again, he should be really good, but the motor, the energy, the lateral quickness just isn't really there. And like at 6'8", obviously it's going to be hard for him to keep up with somebody who's like borderline 6'1", 6'2", right? Just from a quickness standpoint. But it's like he gets too easily beat on dribbles. Like on in penetration situations, it's not it. But yeah, we'll see if he can outclass that. I don't put too much hope because he's stuck on the Nets, and the Nets, gun to your head, name the last three good players they developed. You can't name them. Yeah, that's kind of how their whole thing goes. Lonzo gonna win MVP this year. Just watch. Hey, I'm just glad to see Lonzo hooping again, dude. It was a sad leave before Lonzo came back. I'm not gonna lie. On draft night, what was it? It wasn't Ben Simmons. I don't know why. I almost said that. There was a specific person because he had passing shots, but it was very offensively dominant. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. It wasn't like a star, but it was like somebody that's comfortably like a fringe all-star caliber player. But yeah, he was probably one of the few guys that people were kind of confident in, but his defensive nature and tendencies kind of held him back just a little bit. But I mean, still getting picked at eighth, I want to say eighth or ninth. I think it was eighth. People still are willing to take that bet for sure. I don't know why we don't trade and develop talent. Why are we so convinced picking is the only way? Like, sure, use some of our picks, but we use like 10 in the last 3 years. Do we need 10 more? No, for sure not. Trading in general seems really tough right now with the April rules. That as well. Yeah. Demon, Bailey, Lowry, Hendricks, Flip, Walker. It definitely would be. I'm not gonna lie. You would have a long night, especially if guys communicated well defensively. It would get wicked very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. It's but who would we have to give? Because I know there's no way the Nets are incompetent, but I refuse to believe they're incompetent enough to just let Igor walk for like some meh kind of package. I don't know. But I guess we'll never know. I used to wish Alonzo paired with Donovan in Utah. They would have complemented each other really well. Yeah, they definitely would have. Dude, Lonzo. Lonzo beside literally almost any guard in the league that likes to get buckets looks phenomenal. Like he might make them look like the second coming of just the greatest things you've ever seen. It really gets that serious. He turns bigs into floor runners. You see a 7-footer flying down the court, and it's not Giannis. And it's like, I thought this guy was slow. No, he's running because he knows as soon as Lonzo got that ball, he's looking for a touchdown pass. He's looking for a home run. And it's like that transition game is beautiful. Just amazing. Either Keontae in a pick or Isaiah. Yeah. Yeah. Nets have done worse than letting one of their 10 guards walk for almost nothing. Definitely also true. Definitely also true. I mean, the fact that they even picked with all 5 picks last season, I thought they were gonna package 2 of them up or package 2 or 3 of them together so they could get a higher pick and then pick 3 in the first round. That's what I thought was gonna happen. It did not happen. So I was definitely surprised. Yeah. You know what? I have to look at the not the Trailblazers, though it's kind of funny that they won by 20 against the Warriors without Chauncey Billups. Um, where are they? The Wizards. I have to look at the Wizards right now because I got to decide really early on this season if they're going to be competent or not. They do have CJ. They do have Bub Carrington. I forgot he didn't have a good game today, but he's still up. Trey Johnson, dude. Oh man, I miss Trey. Holy cow. This is the weirdest roster. This is the most random collection of players. You got Chris Middleton, Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr, CJ McCollum, Bub Carrington, Trey Johnson, Cam Whitmore, Marvin Bagley III. You know, I'm glad he's getting some burn. I'm happy. Corey Kispert. I don't want to butcher his last name, so I'm not going to say it. Tristan V. And a guy named Will Riley. And then Justin Champagne, Sharif Cooper, yeah, all that sort of stuff. Omar's son. Yeah. And then AJ Johnson. Like, this is just such a weird collection of dudes. But they got the job done. I don't know. Yeah. He said, who's going to be our biggest rival this year? Worst team in the league? Yeah, it should in theory be the Nets. For let's see. Yeah. Nets you could make a case for the Suns, I think. Low key. Cause like who? Iguodaro. I have to look into that guy. Oh, they have Grayson Allen. I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say Nets then, because Grayson Allen, though I don't like Dylan Brooks, he's not a bad basketball player. They still have Devin Booker, Royce O'Neal off the bench, Mark Williams and Nick Richards both off the bench. They gave Mark Williams more minutes than Nick Richards. Dang, Nick, they don't love you like Charlotte loved you. Crazy. And then came in. Haha. Yeah. Now Kawhi shoots 21 shot attempts. All right, bro. All right. Now James Harden could hit his jumpers. All right, bro. 30. They could buy 57. They did not want to do it to us. Did they lose against us on purpose? Like, why did they do that? He almost tripled his shot attempts. I don't know. I'm not going to put too much thought into it, though. Second-year player. 4-4-1. Weird. Okay. I don't know. Yeah, if the Hornets get the injury bug again, they can definitely be worse. But something tells me they won't, and they have Colin Sexton now, so they still might be able to avoid. They still might be able to avoid purgatory. Yeah. Nah, the Wizards sent Poole to the Pelicans. Yeah. Dude, I hate Dylan Brooks with a passion. Like it's so the thing with guys like Dylan Brooks, hoops is everything. If you can talk you can talk as much trash as you want to. if you're a bucket, if you're like that, no matter how much people hate you, at the end of the day, they're going to be like, bro, nice though, right? I don't feel that way about Dylan Brooks. I never have and I never will, right? Like he's competent, but nobody's you. Dare I say, if you said I have to be Dylan Brooks or some random NBA player I've never heard of before for $1 million, and you say you could pick either guy, even if I don't know who the other NBA player is, just a randomizer, I'm picking Dylan Brooks because I just don't respect him as a player. And it's like, he's not terrible, right? Like, even one thing I'll always say, though I occasionally have a bias, I refuse to allow it to skew my point of view, right? He's not a terrible player. Though he only shoots 43% from the field, he's 39% from three, almost 40% on 6.5 threes last year. He can shoot. That's what pisses me off. Like, he can shoot threes. He can't shoot everything, but he can shoot threes specifically. And then I don't think he's a 3D player. People will sit there and be like, "Yeah, Dylan Brooks is 3D." He's not 3D, guys. Let's not lie to ourselves. He's a great instigator though. He's 6'7"? There's no way. Has he been 6'7" this whole time? In my head, he's literally been 6'4" the entire time. Okay, that kind of changes my thing. I kind of don't. I might take my chance at a randomizer, but only because he's supposed to be 6'7", allegedly. Crazy. Hmm. But yeah, he's not a bad basketball player. I just don't like the way he operates. And there's always going to be bad apples like that. 6'7" in heels. That's what I'm thinking. Sexton would drag that Hornets team kicking and screaming if he has to. Yeah, it might get to that point. Yeah, he'll do whatever it takes. Because one thing he's not is a loser. He might be on some losing teams, and people sit there and say that. But dang it, they could never make me hate my goat. Draymond Green Jr. without the MMA. Yeah. Yo, you know what's crazy? Hold on. Isn't Draymond 6'7" though? He's not 6'9". Hold on. Because they're really the same height for real. Hold on, let's do a little peeking. Oh, he's listed as 6'6". Let's just call him the same height. Let's just call him the same height. Draymond with 5 less pounds of weight and the equivalent of Draymond's passing chops are basically his 3-point abilities. Dang. Put 35 on them boys. Wasn't enough. But he only took 2 shot attempts. Buddy, what are you doing, baby? Yo. Is he sick or something? 11 minutes of action? They played the entire bench. Gary Payton the second got 7 minutes. Santos got 11. Spencer got 11. Richard got 20. Yo, nah, they really ran. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They really went 13 players deep. Well, when you're getting clapped by the Trailblazers, I guess that's kind of what you choose to do. Wild. Shout out that boy Drew Holiday. He's in purgatory, but man, he's out there doing the thing. Shout out that man. Yo, I genuinely don't like that dude. I genuinely don't like that dude. There's very few players that I don't like. Like there was a time where I hated Draymond. I don't love Draymond either, but I respect his game tremendously more than I do buddy that I was just talking about. I just blah. Like even me being a hater of like when KD went to the Warriors, you will never hear me sit there and say, you would never catch me in my dreams saying KD's ass. You couldn't pay me to say it because I don't believe it. I don't believe it. KD would fry everybody, right? So I can't just sit there and say that. I watched no, he's part of too many core memories of mine. I could never. Ooh, I know the Spurs played today. Yeah, they barely beat it. Oh, it was an overtime game. You see that? Yeah, Draymond does have really long arms too. Mhm. Danny Guy in Portland is a really good box scores. Comes up and talks about Portland's best young player, if I remember. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. The thing is, the Trailblazers have a really good young. Do I want to say good? They have a really interesting, a really intriguing young core. I'll say that. It just really comes down to how they're trained into playing basketball. Uh, Champagne, 3 of 8. Harrison Barnes still kicking. Victor doing Victor things, dude. 29 and 11. Devin Vassell, 8 of 19. Not a great shooting night, but that 6 of 14 from three does something to me. Okay. Stephon Castle, 5 of 12, 3 of 8 from three. Okay. Okay. All right. Ooh, show. Ooh, that 9 turnovers is not good. But 18 as a team overall, and y'all still clutch the W. So, okay. Okay. We could do that. We could do that. Jordan Poole with 20 shot attempts, of course. 20 shots to get 21 points. Zion being pretty effective. Not gonna lie. Zion's looking good. Nobody's gonna talk about it because, it's not there's no memes to be made because he's not fat anymore. Trey Murphy doing Trey Murphy things. Yeah. This tonight was a good night for hoops for the most part. I just needed. He said R.I.P. Chauncey Billups. Yo, it's over him apparently. So uh, how do I to put this mildly, allegedly, right? Allegedly, um, somebody put in parlays on Terry Rozier, and then that same person had $200,000 in cash delivered to his house, and apparently they have it on camera. So I'm not gonna say it's over, but it probably is. And in my head, I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure Terry Rozier over the course of his career thus far, or maybe like at the conclusion of this contract, he'll have made like $130 million. Do you really, do you really need it that bad? Is it that critical? You need 200,000 on top of all that? And of course, again, this is alleged, right? Until we see the tape where we can play in the middle of whether or not it exists, but that's a pretty crazy accusation, realistically. 30 people so far have been arrested for it. Nasty work. You couldn't convince me that the league doesn't know. The league had to have known like when it was actively happening, but I guess they just didn't have enough to like actually put people away. Like how they do with those RICO charges and whatnot in the rap game and with gangs and stuff. You need more. You wanna cast your net out real wide and make sure you rope with everybody. Get all your crabs together. More than money, I think it's the fact that you don't mess with organized crime is why they caved. Fair, 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 fair. Damon Jones is the one who let people know before the others that LBJ was out for a game. Ooh, crazy work. I do remember that though. Yeah. But yeah, the Jazz are gonna jazz it up. We got the Suns on Monday, Trailblazers on Wednesday. Are those the only 2 games next week? Friday. All right. Monday. Dang, we got 4 games next week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Okay. All right. In theory, right? Let's say in a vacuum, we want to win all of our games, right? We can conceivably win all 4 of these games. I'm gonna say realistically, with some weird play, 2-2. I could see us going 1-3, but I find it hard to believe we go 0-4. I don't see that happening. We play the Suns twice, so maybe that's one of those games we say, yeah, we need that. We need those cookies. The Trailblazers come out the gate surprising us. Donovan Clingan puts on a master class against Walker Kessler. They kind of go back and forth, but it's clear that Clingan is like winning. Um, Drew Holiday gives Keontae George a fit. Jeremy Grant matches Larry Markkinen bucket for bucket. You know, Denny showcases a lot of great things, and we don't really have a great answer. Ace isn't quite there yet. We lose that one. Okay. Um, we lose to the Suns. The Hornets healthy, fully powered. Not necessarily a Colin Sexton revenge game, but like, you know, his first time coming back. It's all good vibes, but we lose because LaMelo is tired of the disrespect everybody's giving him. Um, Brian Kalkbrenner showcases that he can be a starting center in this league, especially with LaMelo being his point guard, feeding him the rock. Brandon Miller, all those guys take that step forward. You have Miles Bridges in better shape than he's been since like 2022 or 2021. Yeah, that's going to be a rough one. And then we have the Celtics. So yeah, for sure. For sure. Can't wait to see Ace play a real game in the regular season. Yeah. 24 wins over the season. I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that. Let's see. Walker has to hit 1-3 to drag Clingan out of the paint. That's also a good point. Sexton gonna score 40 on key. I'm not gonna lie. 20. We're all in the 20s. We're in agreement on 20s for the final season. For the conclusion of wins of the season. I'm with that. I'm with that. If Sexton, here's the thing, right? It would be hilarious if Isaiah Collier came back by that game, or Colin Sexton came, or excuse me, not Colin Sexton, or just we find out that like Keontae George and Colin Sexton high key didn't get along the whole time, and then Colin just like fries him like that. I would be dying laughing. It wouldn't be funny because like it would be embarrassing to watch, but it'd be funny because like he waited this entire time and now he got the opportunity to like literally show you, like when I was on your team and we were losing and I said keep your head up and you said I was full of crap. Watch this. Let me show you what happens when you keep that head down. Like buckets. Like, nah, that'd be funny. Optimist and go 30. Okay. Don't know whether to laugh or cry at that. that's the thing right there. Need him the poster key. That would be crazy. I don't want the one thing. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want I don't want Colin to dunk on Walker Kessler. If he dunked on Walker Kessler, I'd be sad. Because like I liked watching them play together on the team together. You know, just to remind him I still own you, kid. I could see that. But yeah, nothing too crazy on the books. We'll be back. What did I say? Monday? Yep. Monday night like clockwork, boys and girls. And, you know, the usual stuff. Good morning, good evening, and good night, no matter where you're on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.